Well, this is it. It's been a long year of pain, a year of tragedy, and a year of a lot of good games. And while yes, it hasn't worked out for me as much as I wanted it to, I appreciated what this year has had to offer and what I got a chance to play. So, no fancy intro here, just a couple of points for my top 10 games of the year. I had to play the game, aka Uncharted 4, Dark Souls 3 don't make it onto this list because I didn't play them. And even though I will be as objective as possible with this list, realize that this is my list of my favorite games of the year. They are the ones that I will remember going forward, and they are the ones that truly stand out to me. Sure, some people will have different lists, and they'll have good reasoning most likely. But these are the top 10 games I played in 2016. Number 10. Final Fantasy 15. It's somewhat fitting that a game that spent 10 years in development would kick off this year's list at number 10. It just goes to show that sometimes it takes a slow roast to bring the flavor out of a game. And rest assured, Final Fantasy 15 has enough of a kick to soothe those RPG connoisseurs of the action variety. While the old regulars of this series may not think this dish is right for them, it still holds the flavor of the iconic franchise at its heart. The appetizer that starts this meal is a vibrant risotto of its presentation. It's filled with rich textures that will dazzle your eye's palate, as driving along the countryside will take your breath away. The amount of detail of creatures like the chocobos and the malboros will make you appreciate the refined techniques used by these master artisans. It's clear that the chefs wanted to wow you from the start, as the game really emphasizes this course, almost to the point that you forget that, hey, you've got another couple of courses coming up. But frankly, you won't care, as you're waiting to see where the game takes you next. On top of that, this meal has its ambiance, as the music playing will not only bring back memories of the days of Final Fantasy Old, but its new tracks will find their way suspiciously into your phone rather quickly. Then we move on to the main course, the gameplay. The gameplay is a nice thick cut of combat, with a side of side quest and exploration. You'll appreciate the juicy and succulent battling, as you'll need to use your positioning and time button presses to get the most out of every encounter. While you can choose to over-season the dish by abusing the item system, the core combat is a real treat when it brings the challenge. Like any refined dining experience, however, it may take you time to understand how to use your tools in a properly gentleman fashion. As you attempt to maneuver yourself via whopping around the battlefield, you'll appreciate how technical the fighting becomes, with link strikes to knock your enemies off their feet. It's complemented by a wonderful weapons-based resistance system that will semi-replace the older magic system in terms of your main strategy. Each weapon tastes of a different combat style, ranging from the quick and agile spear to the slow but brutal greatsword. Now, I'll admit, the meal isn't as tough as I'd want it in the first half of the game, but it starts to get a nice equilibrium at the midway point. Now, once you get your first taste of side quest, you'll realize that each bite will be hit or miss in its flavor. Sure, the quests with Cindy were seasoned well with good world building, but the dog tag quests end up being too bitter for even the most versatile palates. Now, it only makes number 10 on this list, as your dining experience won't be without some small blemishes. The story course is so raw that Gordon Ramsay himself would go into a fit of rage. Basically, it's missing key plot points in the second half, and has general flow issues, which is soured by the fact that you need to pay a little extra to get its full experience. And don't expect your service to be timely, as the long walks and loading times will make certain parts of the meal feel ice cold. But it's a dish that well surpasses the bland Final Fantasy XIII, and it'll be able to deliver a strong and memorable taste, like a nice serving of cup noodles. Number 9. Enigma. Even Sherlock Holmes himself would probably not have discovered Enigma on his own. If one were to investigate its Steam store page, you wouldn't find a lot of clues of what Enigma truly is. It's a game that seems to have themes of mystery, themes of fantasy. It's got the typical style for a Japanese visual novel. So maybe it's just another game in the backdrop of Steam's library. But playing the game reveals its mysteries so much more, as you begin to realize why its page is so barren of information. Because if you were to take a magnifying glass and zoom in on Enigma, you'd find a game whose mystery is its biggest asset, as the wonder you'll experience from its twists and turns will tug on your heartstrings like Moriarty tugs on Holmes' intellectual prowess. But I guess I have to give you some leads to follow if you think this game may be up your alley. The basic story surrounds a man named Chester, who unfortunately has a fatal disease known as Enigma. Now, not much is known about it, and sadly, he's in the last portions of his fisticuffs fight with this deadly plague. After setting off into the world to find his inner peace, he crash lands on an undocumented island. He comes to know the local villagers of this island, and that's where this visual novel centers its investigation on the relationships that Chester forms with these random strangers. Like the complex relationship of Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson, these relationships have several layers, as Chester's personality and debilitation constantly come into conflict with each other. And yet, his caring nature shines above all of it. Just like the writings of Arthur Conan Doyle, it's able to grab you via some fantastic situations and writing. But unlike those tales that you could read at your local library, Enigma is all about tugging on your heartstrings, like a cat playing with a mouse. It can go for the feels as someone who comes to care for Chester goes through the emotional turmoil of losing a friend. Or it can be from a touching character evolution that's caused by Chester himself. On a couple of occasions, I ended up crying due to the emotion involved. But don't think it's just gonna be a waterfall of tears, as the game does switch it up with some really lighthearted moments, and some moments that literally come out of left field. And this game has what may be the WTF moment of the year, which made me jump out of my seat like I never have before. Now let's be clear, this game is a very hit and miss type of game from what I've seen. Either you love it or you hate it. The question will be if the game touches you with its plot. In other words, it's a true mystery on whether you will love this game. But it's a risk I say that you should take. For as memorable stories go, I'll be remembering Enigma for a while, and due to the strength of its writing, it hits number 9 on this list. Number 8. Enter the Gungeon. The top-down shooter seems to be one of the most common bullets in an endless clip of indie games that have hit Steam this year. So with so many of them out there, as a consumer, it's hard to find a favorite sidearm, as all the guns in this game's weapon shop ends up looking the same. And yet, Enter the Gungeon took a buckshot to all the other competitors this year, and found itself no-scoping into one of the most popular indie hits of this year. Enter the Gungeon isn't some training range. It's a live firefight that will punish you with a harsh difficulty right out the get-go. A simple dodge and a variety of strong enemies will face you in a gunslinging rain of bullets, and you'll die repeatedly from that one sniper that you didn't see in the back of the room. But you'll be ready to pick yourself up and try again, because what this game loaded in its chambers was fun, and more fun. You don't need a scope to see that right away. The controls are perfect for the enemies that have been designed here. You have enough accuracy to be a sharpshooter if you have the right gun, but you aren't Neo from the Matrix. You can't dodge every bullet if you make bad decisions. While the RNG elements can punish you by putting you in a room that seems to be unwinnable, for the most part, this game relies on your skill, and that's what fans of this genre truly want. But like those trusty assault rifles, where Enter the Gungeon truly shines, it's its sheer variety of weapons, characters, and enemies that you'll run into, and how even after the 8-hour, 10-hour, 15-hour mark, you'll still be finding new elements that will keep you entertained. Now this isn't anything new for the roguelike procedurally generated genre, but Enter the Gungeon is the AK-47 of this genre. It's so reliable in this area that you can bet your life on it. The NRA themselves would be truly jealous of the arsenal that Enter the Gungeon brings to the table. Of course you got your main staples, your 6-shooters, your sniper rifles, your miniguns. But then you get things like a mail launcher, a water shotgun, and well, whatever the hell this weapon is. This strange and wonderful, wonderful weapon. And let's not forget the enemies either, who are the desperados that you'll be facing. Each enemy serves a particular purpose, whether it be to shoot you in the face, or to force you into chaotic movement due to erratic bullet patterns, so that someone else can shoot you in the face. The combination of different enemies forces the different strategies in the game, and your arsenal plays a big part too. Yes, I would love to snipe this enemy, as that's the best way to deal with him, but I only have a shotgun and an SMG left, so I have to change my strategy up. You have to react to the circumstances of this game, and I love that you have to do that. There is not one good strategy that will get you through it. And I would be amiss to not mention the colorful style and the deep yet action-oriented soundtrack. It's the nice leather casing that you holster your gun in, and it feels so right to do so. It doesn't take a dead eye to know that Devolver Digital has some of the most interesting indie games in their publishing lineup. But Enter the Gungeon blasted through their usual solid but not spectacular ceiling to take number 8 on my Game of the Year list. Frankly, I wish I played more of it, and after I have to slow this channel down due to finances, well, maybe I'll pick it up a little more. Number 7. Rabi-Ribi. While it'd be easy to hop over this cutesy anime game as being nothing but fluff, Rabi-Ribi quickly proved that it deserves a spot in any Metroidvania fan's burrow. In a generation where Simon Belmont and Samus Aran are just some bunnies that you used to know, Rabi-Ribi will make you care it about the genre again, with some great exploration and a vibrant and colorful style. You play as the cute and adorable rabbit Arana, whose life has been turned onto its belly because she's sort of been turned into a human. A bunny girl to be precise. She goes on an adventure to find her master and find a way to return herself to her original non-bipedal self. Now it's not going to be a prance in the field, as everyone and their mothers become obsessed with you thanks to a mysterious bunny cloud, the ever so cute cousin to the Sharknado. But as adorable as the game's art is, it actually hides a reasonably strong set of gameplay mechanics under its fur. Arana wields a Pico hammer, similar to her hedgehog brethren in the Sonic series, but she also has a helper in Ribbon to fire lasers across the field. With good difficulty options that cater everyone, from the newbies in the gaming world down to the speedrunning veterans, you'll have a lot of fun trying to save Arana from being Rabbit Stew, as the controls are tight enough to give you the swiftness you need. And like themes from the classic tale of the tortoise and the hare, the stamina element of this combat system is really what shines. It forces you to be more strategic in your gameplay, as you'll have to switch back and forth between Ribbon and Arana's attacks so that the other can recover their appropriate bar. You can't just rely on your lucky rabbit's foot here and hope to make it, and that's why I really, really love it. It's honestly one of the more skill-based Metroidvanias I've played, where it feels like some random enemy doesn't just come and bite me out of nowhere. But the Bugs Bunny of this game is its boss battles. See, while it's a Metroidvania game at heart, Rabi-Ribi swiped a mechanic from one other genre: bullet hell. This adds a whole new level of fun to the game, as the two genres actually meld well together. Very similar to another game on this list, the game throwing the entire herd of bullets at you forces an emphasis on movement. But on top of that, it does a great job of switching up patterns on you, forcing you to be swift as a rabbit in one fight, then as slow and purposeful as a tortoise in the next. Each boss fight feels unique despite them having similar mechanics in the end. And let me tell you, the boss rush mode, yeah, you're gonna want to get that and play that for a while. It's a game that surprised me around every corner. Whether it was a very underrated soundtrack that really emphasized the exploration themes it was going for, or the little touches of story development that came with unveiling secrets about the world, this game is definitely worth your time. The only reason it falls this far down the list is a subpar sound design that doesn't really take advantage of the combat that it's going for. And honestly, the strength of every other game on this list. But as Metroidvanias go, this one is a must-have, and don't let its cute and cuddly nature fool you. Number 6. Furi. As a famous philosopher of our time once said, it's time to duel. While there's been games that have had you go one-on-one in swordplay and a barrage of bullets, Furi feels like it's the Yu-Gi-Moto of the genre. Sure, it may lose here and there in small elements of the story, but when it comes down to it, Furi pulls off a victory of satisfying gameplay by the end of the episode. Just like Pegasus' tournament in the first season of the show, Furi is basically a boss rush mode. You face some of the strongest jailers on this unknown planet, and you'll have to take them down one by one. Each of them have their own theme to battle, despite it all coming down to drain their life points down to 0 in the end. Whether it's a fight against Taya Gardner and her angelic fairy type deck, to Yusoi's warrior deck of straight swordsman gameplay, you'll appreciate the uniqueness of each fight and how it changes up the formula in subtle ways. It's the kind of game where each move is important to take the lead, as you counter incoming assaults with timely defensive blocks, and then strike at the heart of your opponent. You don't set trap cards to gain your advantage here. It's really just focusing on what your opponent is about to do and react to them before they take a chunk out of your life. This is truly some of the best 1v1 combat that I've seen, as it can create epic battles similar to a Blue Eyes White Dragon versus a Dark Magician. But don't think this game pulls a 4Kids and eliminates guns from the battling. In fact, it's a big part of the combat. Your enemies will do something that an earlier game on the list did: throw every bullet known to man at you. That's right, this game embraces more bullet rush attack styles, and it really changes up the battle, especially because you're such more effective at close range. It takes precision, especially in the latter portion of the game, to get through certain sections by dodging, and only the strongest duelists will be able to see the end of this interesting journey. Unlike the different variants of the Yu-Gi-Oh games, like what the hell is Dungeon Dice Monsters, one of the key elements of Furi is in its simplicity. There's no real combo attacks. You've only got a light melee attack with a charged up one if needed, and the same for your gun. You can only dodge and block, but that's all you'll need. The simple mechanics allows you to focus on the timing and experimenting with what combination of skills will take out the boss in this phase of the fight. Usually fights last 4 to 7 phases, and each phase will be different in how the boss plays and what patterns he throws out. Sure, you will die, and you'll have to repeat sections over again, but personally, I didn't mind for the most part, and I was enjoying the back and forth struggle to keep out of the Shadow Realm. The style is sophisticated like My Valentine and her Harpy Ladies, oozing elegance with its neon colors and its lovely line work. The soundtrack is a beautiful headhuntress of techno-infused goodness, really complementing the battles to the death in a variety of high-action sonnets. If one were to use the Swords of Revealing Light on Furi, you'd find one of the best boss rush experiences since Shadow of the Colossus. Granted, the small hiccups that hold the game back do a little bit of damage and put it on number 6 on this list, such as breaking of established rule sets, sort of like a Yu-Gi-Oh episode, and the whole character building of the main character sort of went right out the window. But if you like action and always wanted to be a samurai, Furi is the right choice for you. Number 5. Ratchet and Clank. When people talk about the golden age of gaming, many refer to the era that was defined by the pixelator, and that's definitely one of them. But I have another, the PS2 adventure game era. Games like Sly Cooper, games like Jak and Daxter, and of course, the Ratchet and Clank series. And luckily this year, we got a reset of that series with a modern day set of graphics. And considering it's number 5 on this list, I'd say it was a tiny bit successful. Ratchet & Clank's bouncer basically holds the serious riff draft out, and only lets the fun into the club to Groovatron all night long. Now, is it highly difficult? No. Is it bringing anything really new to the table to the series? No. Is there a racing section that may be Combuster with a flurry of swear words? Yes. But is it fun? Hell yes. I love being a warmonger, as combat in this game is fast and exciting. Your arsenal of weapons ranging from the Buzzblades to the weird Mr. Zircon are all effective and easy to use, but the true brilliance here lies in the ammo count of all things. It gives you enough ammo to use a weapon reasonably in battle, but not enough so that you can only rely on that one weapon. This forces you to change the weapons despite them not being the best for a particular situation, but they're usually effective enough regardless. Now, don't get me wrong when I say this. The game can throw a challenge or two at you, especially in some of the game's boss fights. But it's also nice to see that a game understood that it didn't need a brutal difficulty in order to succeed. Even someone who loves difficult and challenging games like myself, as shown by several of the games on this list, I love just stepping back and blowing things up left and right. But on release, I was actually rather shocked on how well the game translated to the PS4 era. The graphics work here is lovely, especially when you can see the individual fibers of fur on Ratchet. The animation work is smooth and crisp in and out of battle, and the game hits you over the head with a wrench with some of its more captivating visuals. But on top of that, the visuals never get in the way of gameplay. You can always see what's going on, and it never emphasizes that presentation over the gameplay itself, which is something that a lot of games seem to do nowadays. The worlds that you go to have a great variety to them, ranging from island-like peninsulas with large waterfalls to depressing factories overrun by enemy soldiers. And while several people seem to have a problem with the humor in this iteration of the game, I guess I don't agree. The game still has that lovable charm to its writing, and while it does show the Hollywood element with the tie-in movie, it's not Alien vs. Predator launcher types of bad. It's still enjoyable. I also have to give Insomniac a special mention here for the price of the game of all things. It would have been easy in the modern day video game landscape to sell Ratchet & Clank for a full $60 price tag. It may be a shorter game, but the polish it has wouldn't have had the internet trolls lighting up their pyro critters in response. But instead, they sold it for $40, and well, that's value for the dollar right there. You get a great game and a little bit of savings to purchase a smaller indie title as well. Just another lovely bonus of the 5th best game of the year. Oh, and the last weapon that I didn't make a mention of sorta brings us to number 4. Number 4. Doom. It feels like for the last several years, old school FPS gamers who were raised on the likes of the original Doom and Wolfenstein 3D must have felt like they were in eternal purgatory. Sure, the modern day trends of military and cover-based shooters had elements of their favorite genre, but it had been transformed into a demon-like monstrosity. The torment of regenerating health, the screams of heavily scripted cutscenes. Their genre had been taken from them like Beatrice in the Divine Comedy. But luckily, this year brought us someone who'd literally go to hell and back to save it. And that, of course, is Doom Guy. To the chorus of angels singing a fantastic set of metal and rock pieces, Doom kicked in the door of overly dramatic and nonsensical dialogues and set the tone in the first 5 minutes of the game. Hell, those first 5 minutes did more character building for Doomguy than the Satan spawn of the Final Fantasy series ever did with Lightning. The presentation may have a lot of dark corridors and burned out colors, but you can feel the heat of Hell's fires when stuck in the world of demons. With the rips in flesh and the tears in muscle, these demons that you've been sent to kill feel like Satan's personal army themselves. But no, that's not why you entered these stages of agony. You're here because of the action-oriented combat. And let me tell you, Saint Michael himself would pardon any sins made by this game's multiplayer because the single player is so fantastic. Even though you're killing demons left and right, the shooting is downright heavenly. It feels like you're riding the wings of an angel, as the fluid combat allows you to move from one demon to the next, like you're floating on air. The concerns I had about the glory kills were put 10 feet into the ground very quickly, as the quick animations work, but the tying of health to those kills was genius, giving you reasons to be precise and not just shoot everything until they stop moving, but wait a second, to try your hands at some chiropractic operations. This is while wielding a simple yet effective arsenal that's so satisfying to use that you may think it was gifted from God himself. It's the precision of a railgun, making it rain blood from an exploding cranium. Then it's the satisfying sound of hitting a meat shot against the embodiment of gluttony. You'll wonder if you'd be condemned to eternal damnation from the personal joy you get from this action. And frankly, at the time, you really won't care. But I've always said that what separates the great games from the good is the little things, aka the devil is in the details. Well, in this case, Doomguy already removed that devil because each of the small systems here add up to a fantastic end result. The sound design being so precise, you can feel bullets sink into an enemy. But that's on top of the music carefully cutting out a tiny bit while doing that. It's the small achievement elements that unlock new abilities for your guns and for Doomguy that doesn't feel necessary, but enhances the overall experience. It's finding those secrets that are actually frickin' secrets, and not just the small path that everyone would see. Every element of the single player experience feels right, even if I did want 1 or 2 more bosses in the end. It takes number 4 based on the strength of the single player alone. Sure, Snap Map is nice, although the multiplayer felt like its own purgatory. But this is a return to form for the action-based FPS, and I do hope some other companies follow in the footsteps of id, like they did so long ago. Number 3.
Our every step unsettled the ancient earth, but we were in a realm of death and madness.
Darkest Dungeon. Some say that I'm a masochist. I was a Cubs fan before it was cool. I played over 200 hours of a game that I ultimately hated to do a full review on it. And I still willingly try to be a good guy in a world that, let's be honest, tries to screw you at every corner. So it shouldn't be a surprise that I fell in love with Darkest Dungeon when it came out in early access in 2015. It would have been my game of the year if it fully released then, but it was 17 days late, and due to the strength of the other 2 games on this list, it came up with the bronze medal. But unlike the pain brought forward by other dungeon crawling RPGs like Stranger of Sword City, Darkest Dungeon infuses its brutal yet unyielding difficulty with the ecstasy of great gameplay design and interesting mechanics. The only safe word it has is to stop playing it, but once you start, you won't want to stop. The idea here is simple. Take a harem of specialized heroes ranging from the eerie plague doctor, specializing in poisons and constant torturous pain, to the glorious Vestal, who specializes in holy and healing powers. Right out of the gate, the game makes this clear. It doesn't need your consent to start inflicting pain and killing heroes right away. This game has permadeath, and don't get too attached to your heroes because they are going to fall sooner rather than later. And the strategy elements of this game shine as brightly as a wax candle in any sort of play session. There's tens of hundreds of things to take into account when going into a dungeon, what kind of enemies you'll face, what heroes are actually able to actually go into the dungeon, how many items you'll need to purchase to get through the dungeon. Each little decision in this game adds up, as one false move can be like stabbing yourself with a needle intentionally, forcing you to take risks that you really don't want to take, but have to in order to continue on. However, the sanity system is truly where I get the pleasure out of this game. It's your second health bar, as you attempt to not only keep your characters physically alive, but keep them out of the stables of insanity. If their morale drops low enough, they can start not listening to you, even hurting themselves based on what affliction plagues them. You can feel the darkness close in as your team gets ever out of your control, as you hold on to the last remnants of hope that your character will pull a rabbit out of their hat and somehow survive to fight another day. Now, like I mentioned, there's a lot of things to take into account in this game, but here's the thing. Each mechanic on its own is simple enough to understand, and if you stop and really think about how to handle each situation, you will be the Dom of Darkest Dungeon. Sure, there's going to be bad luck, but at no point during my playthroughs did I think it was ever the game's fault directly and it was unfair. I could always find a fault of mine with one or two bad mistakes, an enemy that I overlooked, or not grabbing enough items going into a particular boss fight. And you'll get addicted to your play sessions. I was the kind of person who would play this game over and over again until I had to, do other reviews. But I still wanted to keep going back to it. Hell, I want to go back to it to this day. It's an addictive kind of pain, very similar to a BDSM session. What I love about Darkest Dungeon is how committed it is to keep to its theme. You can't save scum, for example. The game doesn't let you. It saves constantly. Yes, the developers added options to take out some of the more controversial elements of the game, things like corpses during the early access process. But the default settings are clear. It's a game that knows that you're here for a challenge, and even if you want to scream out in pain and give up, it knows that no, you really want more of it. It's punctuated by a Lovecraftian theme that sets a world of despair that even Monokuma himself would be jealous of. The artwork is the bondage harness that holds the S&M session together, as the use of dark shades and a general lack of light emphasizes the world's lack of hope. It's eerie in all the right ways, but it also has alternative storytelling for characters that rides in the shadows, because you can learn a lot through their insane ramblings, even if it feels like the character development has been ball-gagged in the end. Darkest Dungeon is a game that likes punishing you for doing things wrong. It's the superior dominatrix in the roguelike RPG genre, and I don't see anyone coming close to it anytime soon. Honorable mention. Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair PC version. I fell into total despair that this game couldn't fight for top honors on this year's list. Sadly, despite it showing up on the PC this year, it already had completed its school life game on the PlayStation Vita in 2012. But to not mention it to a whole new audience would be a travesty, because it's one of my favorite games of all time now. Yes, all time. Basically, Danganronpa 2 is a mixture of Battle Royale with Phoenix Wright. These kids are stuck in a deadly game where one of them can escape if they get away with murder, but each time it happens, there's a trial. What plays out is a game of intrigue as you try to figure out what's going on in this mysterious island and how the hell you ended up here. The cast of characters is stronger than the original game, and each of the cases that play out keeps you on the edge of your seat. It uses the original game to play with your head, and quite honestly, leads to some moments that will have your jaw on the floor. The game plays with you like a puppet, and even if you can see what's coming, you know that you're still gonna love it. Danganronpa 2 is a must-play, like the original game was, and the third one in the series is my most anticipated game in 2017. One last note, with Danganronpa 2 being knocked out via a technicality, the number 2 and number 1 game of the year on this list fought for that number 1 spot back and forth for the last several weeks. There was one criteria that decided it in the end. Number 2. Overwatch. Overwatch is the game that finally made me put Team Fortress 2 in the rearview mirror. That's saying a lot, as I sat my ass in this chair for over 3,000 hours in that game. I love the concept of the team-based shooter with specialized roles. I love playing as every single character in the end. And Overwatch's strong hero variety, crisp gameplay, and lovely visuals made sure that it was a release that just wasn't a fart in the wind. It's the game I played the most in 2016, and it's the game that I play to relax with. Whether you're looking for the tight and firm shooting playstyle of McCree or the large and meaty damage absorption of Reinhardt, there will be a character that will most likely fit your playstyle. Or you can be like me and sample them all. When people talk about the diversities of the characters and their looks in Overwatch, I'd rather talk about the diversity of the gameplay, as even newbies to the genre can find something here that they'd probably enjoy. But you may ask yourself, why sit your derriere down for so many hours for one game? Wouldn't it get stale in the end, especially in the competitive scene? The game wiggling its assets in front of you over and over again in a rhythmic fashion? Well, surprisingly no. While each hero has a specific set of skills and strengths, it's the combinations of each of those heroes that can lead to some really fun strategies and a lot of different situations. Sure, there's not a lot of maps right now, but you know what? Even yesterday, I ran into gameplay that I hadn't seen in the gameplay before. Take Sombra, for example. Many people, including myself, would tell you that Sombra's strength compared to other heroes right now is so booty that the New Day would force a box of bootios down her throat. And yet, in quick play, you can see some really scary Sombras out there. Sure, she can't do a whole lot of damage every single time, but that enemy diva that's absorbing all that damage due to her defense matrix, use a 1-2 punch of hacking her matrix and let the rest of your team deal the damage. That's what I love about Overwatch. In most situations, one teammate can't carry a team. An enemy Junkrat spanking your team with his explosives? Go Pharah and rain down some aerial supremacy. That Roadhog hooking and grabbing your fanny across the map and is a constant pain in your ass? Go Zenyatta and hit him with that Discord orb and see his bacon ass fry. Teamwork is the essential element in this game, maybe even more than it was in Team Fortress 2. Now look, it's not like you can't have overpowered heroes in this game. Reinhardt and Soldier 76 are chosen the most in competitive for a reason right now. But I'll give Blizzard credit here. They've stayed on top of balancing and nerfed and buffed characters to try to deal with new issues in the game. And it's kept the game relatively fun. Sure, there's a 3-tank meta right now, and D.Va's defense matrix is way too powerful. But even then, a good skilled set of players can get around that, using their wits and tails to force themselves into victory. Now yes, you'll run into an ass or two while playing competitive. This is the nature of online shooters. Everyone is a butt unless they prove otherwise. But when you get that team together and slap that control point hard, you'll feel this wonderful sense of satisfaction. It's a lovely looking game with a lot of characters and a huge community at this point. A community that have loved to see these characters and put their own spins on them, like D.Va the Gremlin, for example. It's a game that even though it has the polish of a AAA title, it still has heart in it. A lot of heart. And I really appreciate what Blizzard has done with this game. It may have fell behind in my #1 game of the year in the end, but don't let that stop you from grabbing Overwatch, even if you're not a typical shooter lover. It's the game that you can appreciate all the roundness and polish of its game design. And it's not just a game that's a shot of Tracer's booty. It's got the personality behind it. And yes, I just spent the last 4 minutes praising this game by using butt references. At least I didn't end up using this I just put the picture up there, didn't I? Number 1. VA-11 Hall-A Cyberpunk Bartending Action. Hold it. Before you close this video, call me a hipster and accuse me of being a weeboo, hear me out. VA-11 Hall-A is basically a visual novel with minimal gameplay elements. Yes, this is coming from a person who has always stated that gameplay is more important than anything else. And yes, that's more hypocritical than Pro Syndicate saying that he was open and honest about his connection to CSGO Lotto. What ended up making Valhalla #1 over Overwatch was a simple revelation that happened when attempting to determine this list. I spent hours going back and forth comparing strengths and weaknesses of all these games. This was a while I was working on my top 10 overlooked games of 2016, which Valhalla was the clear winner on. So I started to capture more footage to finish that video. I loaded up some random saves to get some variety of the storylines. And I came across one plotline in particular. Now, side note, if you haven't been a fan of the channel, you probably didn't realize that I started this channel 2 years ago after quitting my software engineering job. I was tired of the bad guys winning, and I wanted to bring coverage to games and make that my life's work. To be able to help out the industry while doing it, bringing light to those wonderful efforts that always got overlooked. The hard workers, the visionaries, people like me, not the corporate champions, the actual champions. However, I will have to make this a hobby at the start of 2017. Business-wise, it didn't work out. I just never appealed to enough people, I was backstabbed by people close to me, and it hurt. And I was in a really dark place for the last 2 months. Then, this scene happened. It started to put everything into perspective for me. It helped me deal with what I was going through. Yes, I'm still angry. I'm still pissed that others who blatantly lie end up being in the limelight. That those who didn't fully understand my dream thought I was wasting my time. But this one little game, even after playing through it once already, helped me through that. Now, no, it didn't actually match the situation word for word, but the fact that I could relate to it and use it in my own life, that's the strength of this game. This is ultimately the reason why Valhalla took Game of the Year for me. It's writing that was so relatable, that I could feel the emotions off characters that I was completely opposite personality-wise from, that I could feel the love of the characters with each other in the game, that I could get real emotions out of that and learn from it. Sure, there have been great games with great writing before. Danganronpa 2, Final Fantasy VI, hell, even the Witcher series has some really good writing. But this game is different. It felt like I was talking to a friend. The way these conversations play out is so personal to you that, well, it's really hard to describe. You're put into the position of Jill, and as a bartender, she ends up being a therapist to her clientele. But as the game goes on, you realize that this is much therapy for her clients as it is for Jill herself. And you're the one playing Jill. And even with the choices you make, you can really influence how the story plays out with your own personality. It's not just a branching storyline. For example, my hacker friend here just mentioned that she hates rum and wants a specific drink. Of course I can pour her that drink and be a good little girl, but what if I be a smartass? What if I serve her that rum? Well, that can be a whole different scene entirely that plays off that interaction. If you're clever, you can find some really hidden interactions with your friends in this game. Or you can just get people drunk to spill their secrets to you. You feel in charge, and you want to see all the branching paths in the end. I know it's very easy to dismiss this game based on its old Japanese PC art style and the perceived weeboo anime factor, but it would have been one of the worst mistakes I made this year if I passed this game up. Even if you're not traditionally a visual novel person, I still see this game working for you. And you may think this is just a personal thing, that the game hit all the right notes for me and me alone, and the average user may not find it that great. But I just want to show you something. I want to show you the top 20 games rated on Steam right now. There's some oddities there due to the DLC process, of course, but there's some really good games and cult hits here. One Finger Death Punch, Factorio, and Battle Block Theater. But notice number 12. Yeah, that's Valhalla. For those who picked up the game, they universally love it. And to be quite honest, yeah, there's a really good reason for that. This game will win you over because it's so relatable. Its wonderful characters, its soundtrack of the year. Yes, in a year with Doom and Fury, it's the soundtrack of the year for me. And just its overall love put into it. Hell, when I thought back on it, Valhalla may come up in my top 10 games of all time. That's saying a lot, since I grew up in the era of NES and have seen a hell of a lot of games. Just pick this one up. You can yell at me if you don't like it, that I misled you, and that I'm a horrible, horrible reviewer, and unsubscribe and whatever. But you know what? I'm pretty damn confident that in 99% of these cases, that won't happen. Because, well, this game is truly Valhalla. And that's it for this list. As always, I want to hear from you. What's your game of the year? What big AAA game did I miss that was obviously number one? How much of a hipster am I? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And this is a thank you. As many of you know, I have to slow down this channel a bit due to it not working out business-wise, and will be refocusing on finding another job. The Patreon just didn't make enough for this to be full-time, but I wanted to finish this video specifically before doubling down on that job search. But now, I will be officially cutting back on this channel. Not going away, don't get me wrong, you'll still get content, just not at the rate as I was able to do it before. But I really want to thank the people who are close to me as well as the people who stuck with me for all this time. Again, I'm not going away, but I really appreciate those who shared things with other people, who really had my back as opposed to backstabbing me. So again, I thank everyone out there, and I'll see you next time.